Going back to the year 2000, April 9th, 2000, for a race that's going to go 3 hours and 41 minutes long here at Martinsville Speedway. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking to you guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. You are listening to Speedway Nostalgia, or at least I hope you're watching Speedway Nostalgia. I'm Josh.
I'm Caleb.
And we are here bringing you the Goody's Goody's body power. Goody's, help me out, Caleb.
Goody's body pain 500.
Yes. It's 2000. Like I said, it's going to be April 9th. A lot of things going into this race. Obviously, you can see who we're featuring. Okay. We'll get to this in just a moment. It's actually not this car, but there's a little fact behind this race on this car. But we're going to be coming on ESPN with your pit reporters, Bill Weber. Help me out.
Let's see, what's his name?
Bill Weber and Jerry Punch. Bill Weber was actually one of my favorites watching growing up when he was on NASCAR on NBC in the early 2000s. He always did the Discover Card Countdown to Green. And that was always my favorite, because I've always said NASCAR in the early 2000s had the best pre-race shows.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I wasn't too impressed actually with ESPN's coverage. They did the NASCAR Today right before the race, but you just couldn't beat the Discover Card Countdown to Green with Bill Weber. I mean, he was just great. Bill Weber actually passed away last year.
So, wow.
Yeah, and nobody really knew about it. There wasn't a whole lot of advertising about it and stuff like that. But one of those ones you hate to see him go. And then in the booth, we're going to have Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, and Bob Jenkins, very familiar voices. And I actually always enjoyed Ned Jarrett in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 2000 was his last year. 2000 and 2001, that transition between those 2 years, there was actually a lot that happened.
Yeah, there was.
And in 2001, my personal favorite year, I have bias towards that year, but the year 2000 or the year 2001 in NASCAR, you saw a lot of new coming in, a lot of new rule changes, a lot of new cars, and you saw a lot of lasts in the year 2000, including this race. So covering this race, Mark Martin was driving the Valvoline Ford. It was not this car. Okay, he actually had a sweet paint scheme.
Yeah, I liked it
for this race. This is another one. Did we find this in a thrift store? Or we didn't get this one off auction, did we?
No, I found it at the thrift store.
Now this will be the last year that Mark Martin drove for Valvoline. He moved to the Pfizer Viagra car in 2001. But what's special about this race is this is the last time Mark Martin would take Valvoline to victory lane, driving his Ford Taurus for Jack Roush Racing. Now he still had several more years in a Roush Ford, but this race in particular, what made this so unique was this was the last year he's taken Valvoline to victory lane. It wouldn't be the last time Valvoline went to victory lane, but it was the last time Mark Martin took Valvoline to victory lane. But a lot of other things that was going on this week in NASCAR. A lot of heavy hearts went into this race, Caleb.
Yeah, Lee Petty was passing away, I think, that Wednesday before.
Wednesday is when he passed away this year, in 2000.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the storylines going into the race, was the whole Petty family story, I guess. But yeah, with his death, that was kind of thing going into the race.
The week before this, it was a big week. So Adam Petty, who would die later this year, unfortunately, in a wreck at practice at New Hampshire. Adam Petty had his first Cup Series start, his Cup Series debut, 1 week before this race. And then a few days later, on Wednesday, Lee Petty would pass away. He was number 7 of all-time wins at that time. Number 7 of Cup Series wins. He had 55 wins in the Cup Series. And at Martinsville, that we're talking about today, he actually won the Virginia 500 there in 1959. But going into this race, a lot of heavy hearts. Adam Petty had just made his debut. He wasn't racing a full-time schedule. He was just making a couple starts. His full-time was in the O'Reilly series or Busch series at the time. And then also, starting this race. Obviously, we saw Kyle Petty in the number 44 Hot Wheels car, which didn't grow up a huge Kyle Petty fan. However, I was a fan of that Hot Wheels car. That Hot Wheels car,
Yeah, the thing's sweet on the racetrack.
Uh,
It's cool that NASCAR and Hot Wheels car right there.
100%. But going into this race, the Goody's Body Paint 500. The race is going to be 3 hours and 41 minutes long and 45 seconds. There's going to be 17 cautions for 116 laps. There's going to be 14 lead changes. The 17 cautions actually tied the record for Martinsville that year. The average speed of the race is going to be 71 miles an hour, 71.161 to be exact. And the dominant car was not Martin. The dominant car that you would say the whole race.
That'd be Rusty Wallace for sure.
Thing on Martin.
Dude. Well, he starts on the pole. I feel like at Martinsville, that's a great place to start, especially you're kind of setting yourself up for leading some laps. But I forget what was his total number of laps he led. 312,
43.
43. But yeah, and that he was leading the race, and then blew a tire. I think it was the right front tire. I think. Blew that, and then I think he got back towards the lead. I think he actually took the lead back, and then after that, a bad pit stop or something happened. But yeah, Rusty Wallace definitely deserved that win, leading 343 laps. But
well, heading into this race, this is the 93rd time that the NASCAR Cup Series is going to enter Martinsville, ready to wreak havoc. 93 times at Martinsville up to this point. Now let's fast forward 26 years later, and Martinsville's still going strong. Still, I mean, and no end in sight either. It's one of my bucket list things to get a Martinsville hot dog one of these days. I want the hot dog. I want the slaw, and I just want to try it out. I want to go to NASCAR's oldest track and eat a Martinsville hot dog one of these days. So, Martinsville, if you're watching, did you know Martinsville responded to one of my comments on Instagram this week?
No, what was?
So I made a comment. They put a comment on there about their hot dogs, because that's one of their main things. It's the hot dog, and I'm looking at a lot of the different things on it and stuff like that. And I made a comment about it being a Martinsville race, and a Martinsville hot dog was on my bucket list of things to do and places to go.
Yeah,
and they actually responded on the thing that said, "Well, let's make it a short bucket list and come on out." And I responded and I said, "Give me some media passes and I'll be there."
There you go. Yeah.
They didn't respond.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect to, but very cool.
But yes, heading into this race, Rusty Wallace on the pole, or was Kenny on the pole? No, Kenny started second.
Yeah, Kenny Wallace started second.
Kenny second, but Rusty was on the pole. Had a 94 mile an hour qualifying run, and this will be his 500th start. So number 500 for Rusty Wallace this week. Going into the race, Bobby Labonte was leading in points. Mark Martin was right behind him. Ward Burton was in third. Dale Earnhardt was in fourth. And Rusty Wallace, your pole sitter, was in fifth in points at this point. Mark Martin's going to start the race in 21st, and you're not going to hear nothing else from him the rest of the race until there's about 50 laps to go.
Yeah.
I don't hear nothing else from him.
And the thing is, like, Martinsville, normally, if you're going to try to, I guess, be up front or go for the win, you kind of see, which I don't know, he kind of was hanging out in the top 10 a little bit.
He was, but he
wasn't really he wasn't really, getting aggressive with it until those last 50 laps. But
I just thought of something. Mark Martin wins at Martinsville. He made it Martinsville that day because it was Martinsville. Play on words.
That little T-shirt.
Good talk.
I like it.
Okay, I like it too. First caution is going to come out at lap 4. Now, here's a little eerie fact for you, and some of you who may or may not know. So, Kenny Wallace is going to be going into turn 3. You're going to see his brakes lock up, and when his brakes lock up, I mean, he just keeps going straight. The cars turn, he keeps going straight, and he goes right head on into the wall. And come to find out, it was because his throttle stuck. So the throttle actually stuck and made that incident happen.
With Kenny Wallace. Kenny is flying from his car, walking back through the infield area. Kenny, you're all right. What happened?
Well, the throttle hung wide open. It still hung wide open. First time in my career that's ever happened to me. You know, big letdown for all the NASCAR fans and everybody. Everything was going right to plan. And just never had it happen before. Let off the gas and it wouldn't quit. First I thought it was the brake. Then when I wrecked, I realized I started it up and it was wide open. Looked underneath the hood there and it just stuck wide open. So have to figure out why.
What's that like? What goes through your mind whenever that happens?
Scary. You know, you're wide open, you let off, the corners are sharp, and you're trying to slow up, and the car won't slow up, keeps going straight. So, you know, we hit pretty hard. I mean, I'm fine. Just my pride's hurt. This is one of my best race tracks, and haven't been out in the top 10 here in a long time.
And here's actually the eerie part over some stuff that I was looking at. So you know Adam Petty's death, and it was going to come later this year at New Hampshire. Another long straightaways with little bitty turns.
Yeah.
And that's actually what happened to Adam Petty. Was he was driving and his throttle struck and he went into the wall head on because the throttle stuck. And then we're going to fast forward a couple months later at New Hampshire at the same spot that Adam Petty was killed. Kenny Irwin in the number 42 car is going to have his throttle stick. And he's going to drive head on into the wall. And it's going to kill him nearly instantly. So in 2000, there was a lot of definite mechanical issues on throttle bodies and things like that.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about. I didn't realize all that.
Yeah, it was a very rough year from the year 2000 and 2001. Obviously, it's just it was just a rough year a rough couple years for NASCAR, and that's what's crazy is all the transitioning that was going on, and they were doing everything they can to up safety. There was the Hans device was there at the time, but it wasn't mandated. It was actually and when we covered Talladega a couple weeks ago, that was when a lot of things was mandated. Was at that time, that's when they mandated the Hans device. And a lot of people were very angry over that. But 2000 2001 was just one of those crazy times in NASCAR. I mean, it seemed there for a while, it just seemed like every week you turned around, you were going to, yeah. So here's some more fun facts for you. So Joe Nemechek, he had a younger brother named John Nemechek. John Nemechek drove that 42 car. And he was killed in a wreck in the mid 90s in the 42 car. Kenny Irwin was killed in the 42 car several years later. That 42 car is a known Petty number. Not Richard Petty, but with Petty Enterprises and things like that. Joe Nemechek's going to have a son named John Hunter Nemechek, who I believe he did name after his brother. But you got John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 car made famous by Petty Enterprises and Lee Petty.
Yeah.
And Kenny Irwin dies the same year Adam Petty does in the 45 car. It's just neat how time rolls everything together. I talk a lot about nostalgia and things like that on here, and that's what it's kind of what we're centered around.
Yeah,
and it's just funny how time just circulates and history repeating itself and things like that. But that's enough of that. The commercials, one thing I wanted to hit on, even in 2000. Folks, it seemed like no matter what, you are always watching a Super Bowl every Sunday. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely. Watching these old races, I mean, everybody was so thrilled, no matter what track it was.
Because every week seems special, but the commercials. There was one commercial I was watching on this race. Jeff Burton was in court, and he was the defendant. I can't remember the the context of the commercial, but I mean he had the XI Batteries car, the number 99 car, on his side of the courtroom. I don't know if any of you hit me up in the comments if you remember that commercial, but what do you like the commercial? Did you like? Does it
Yeah.
feel like watching the Super Bowl?
And it's still, it's not just with the race, it's with everything else. Like, it brings so much more energy to NASCAR. And seeing those drivers actually have fun with what they're doing, and, fun commercials like that is cool to watch, and it just makes you more excited for the actual race. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that.
What'd you think about, when we talk about Dale Earnhardt? A lot of times it's in documentaries, or it's, the whole storyline with him being the intimidator and things like that. What was it like watching a race where you saw that number 3 car out there and he played a few factors here and there? He led a few laps, but he wasn't really the main focus. Like you see now, everything's centered around, with documentaries and things like that looking back.
Yeah.
But a race where you saw his car out there, but he really wasn't playing a big factor in it, like you see in today's world, if it's, and that's because, if you're honoring somebody, you're doing a documentary, you have to, focus on them. But it's not very often you sit back and watch a race and just see that 3 car just kind of, pacing around the track here and there.
Yeah. It was cool for me because, yeah, like you said, you're so used to seeing that 3 car will, winning races or going for the win. But it was kind of nice just to watch a race where he, kind of played a factor in there. He was doing good, definitely rolling on the outside past one of those cars. But yeah, I like watching him just be a driver out there. It wasn't a big Dale Earnhardt story. It was just, a race with him in it. And I like watching that.
And that's what it was like for me growing up. I mean, my childhood was NASCAR in the 90s, and then as my teen years, I could really get a grasp and understand. Earnhardt, died in 2001, which was my epic year. So we're going to get caught up on first set of pit stops. And the first set of pit stops, Martin's going to take a 2-tire pit stop, just right sides only. A lot of people were taking right sides only, and there was a rule change that week, and it caught Jeff Burton, Jeff Gordon, and Kevin LePage up, and they all got penalized. And back then, penalties, you do a stop and go. So they were actually coming back around, and they thought, well, we done, or at least Burton and Gordon, they thought, well, we already done a 2-tire, we got to stop anyway, so we might as well go ahead and do the left side tires on too. But this rule was, and I disagreed with it, and even listening to the announcers and Benny Parsons and Bob Jenkins, they disagreed with it, and Ned Jarrett as well. So if you did right side only, then it was required that your pit crew member run back in front of the car. So basically, the car can't take off until the pit crew member has ran back across.
Yeah.
Well, if they drop the jack, those drivers are trained as soon as the jack is dropped, take off. And if they, back then you'd hear radio chatter, and as soon as they drop that jack, you're go, 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 go. Well, if your pit crew member, if you're going off of muscle memory and training and things like that, then your pit crew member, your crew chief yells go, 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 or as soon as that drops, you're ready to go. If your pit crew member is running in front of the car, you're going to run them over.
Yeah, that I don't get I get, everybody's on the whole safety thing, but still, it's just, I don't know. I don't really see a point in it.
So there was one point in the race, and I don't know if you remember, but Dale Jr., who was a rookie at the time, he had just came off of his first win at Texas a week before. He's running towards the mid-pack, but him and Joe Nemechek get together, and Joe Nemechek goes completely sideways. And then Junior bumps him again and literally causes him to shave the car.
He straightens back out, and they go back racing.
And they don't even call a caution or nothing, because they didn't need to. There's no need for it. But watching Junior get into him, and I think Nemechek had come low on him, but he was going sideways. And then when he goes sideways, Junior hits him on the left front fender and straightens him back out. And they just keep on going.
Yeah, that was really cool to watch. Though Junior being a rookie out there, but the whole, you turn him and then you straighten back out. It's kind of like, well, repaying the favor, I guess.
Do you have some lap by lap coverage for us, or anything you can kind of go over with?
Well, let's see here. I'm trying to remember what lap the first Well, do you have what lap the first caution came out?
No, I do not. We're hearing a lot of this for the first time ourselves, folks. So
Yeah,
no worries there.
Right.
But I do know. So there for a while, you had a really cool battle for fifth between Jeff Burton and Bill Elliott, and they battled out for top five. And Bill Elliott, which man, running that, I miss that '94 McDonald's car from the year 2000. It was he kind of changed up that paint scheme a little bit, but that was when he was the owner driver.
Yeah, but I love watching Bill Elliott out there racing with his son now racing, and seeing that '94 car was pretty cool. Also,
but Wallace, he's going to get a flat tire, so there's no caution. Okay, so Wallace, who had been dominating the race the whole time, him and Mike Skinner got together. Mike Skinner passing for just a little bit, but Wallace had led every lap up to this point except just a couple. And him and Earnhardt starts battling a little bit, but he's got a comfortable lead over Dale Earnhardt. And out of nowhere, you see smoke coming out from under the tire, and next thing you know, he's going up towards the wall. And here you go, dominant race, no caution, no yellow flag.
Yeah,
and he's got a flat tire.
It's heartbreaking.
What do you think's going on in his head in the car at that moment?
Well, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that would be so crushing. I mean, you've led all these laps, and it just goes like that. That would be pretty frustrating for me, anyways.
So he's driving, and like I said, this was one of those races where you don't see very often where somebody's just that dominant. Somebody that just has, that much dominance in the car. You'll see that even today. You might see that with like a Kyle Larson at Homestead, or even him at Bristol or something like that. And we're going to talk a little bit here more just how powerful that car was that day, just how fast that car was that day. But he is going to go 2 laps down as soon as he makes that pit stop, no caution. And he's just sick. And it was around this time I started thinking, with 2000 being the final year for a lot of stuff, this was the last year that you would see Dale Jarrett in that blue Ford Quality Care car in that number 88.
Yeah.
And then that was the last year that you would see Bill Elliott sporting the McDonald's colors. And then, of course, that was the last year you'd see Mark Martin in the Valvoline colors. It was also a change in scenery for a lot of people with Sterling Marlin, known for that black Coors car. In 2001, he was going to switch over to the Silver Bullet car, and this was the last year that Jeff Gordon would have the Rainbow car. In 2001, he went to the Flames.
Yeah, which I would prefer the Flames car over the Rainbow car, in my opinion.
You didn't like Rainbow car?
I mean, it was
I figured you'd be more of a Rainbow guy,
Not really.
No?
Maybe you.
No, I preferred, I didn't prefer, I was your stereotypical Gordon hater growing up. Now, all kinds of respect for him.
That's how I am with cars consumer.
And there's some people we know who apparently was so into Gordon that, when Gordon retired,
I retired.
Inside joke, and he did drive a Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah. And Hendrick Motorsports.
You guys are going to, I'm going to let y'all in a little secret. So I'm a Ford guy. I am sporting my Chevy colors today. Mark Martin, he came up a Ford guy. Now, he did switch over to Chevrolet there towards the end of his career. But which was really, really, really sad. Seeing Mark Martin in a Chevrolet just didn't make any sense. But, in today's world, though, it's not like it was back then. Back then, Dale Earnhardt would always be noticed for GM Goodrich, number 3, Richard Childress, and Chevrolet. For most people, anybody that goes back, and if they want to talk about Mark Martin, you don't see them necessarily go to the Hendrick car. You don't see him necessarily go to when he ran with the DEI, when he ran the 01 Army car. You don't see everybody always goes to the 6 car, and very seldom do you even see them see the number 6 Craft car or AAA car or Viagra car. It's always Valvoline.
Yeah,
Um,
that's actually kind of funny.
I mean, people don't even go to, because I mean, even early on, he was a it was Folgers. It was that red Folgers car, sometimes blue.
Yeah.
But he was Valvoline. Martin was Ford, and he was Valvoline, and he was Eagle One. He ran the Eagle One colors a lot in the Busch Series, and I loved the Eagle One car.
Yeah,
it was black and the emblem on it. I loved Eagle One. Martin, if you see this, I need you to comment and tell me just how much you love the Eagle One paint scheme.
This is a really cool paint scheme. Mark Martin's 6, Valvoline paint schemes are really cool.
Now, the one for this race in particular, which wasn't this particular paint scheme, that was probably, and I forgot all about that paint scheme. And if I could find that car somewhere, I would. Hashtag Circle B Diecast, hashtag not sponsored. If I could find that car, that would be awesome, because that was probably that. I mean, going back watching that race, that's probably one of my favorite paint schemes. And I forgot all about it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But I always loved when he would run that Eagle One car. It was black, and it just looked cool. But he would run that a lot. He would run, in the Busch Series. So during the race, Wallace is actually going to get laps back.
Yeah.
He was charging, and he was charging hard.
It's actually the lap 309, I'm pretty sure. This was the 10th caution. Comes out for Jimmy Spencer and Tony Stewart. Spencer slides into the outside, I'm pretty sure. And this caution is what Rusty Wallace took the advantage to pit. Or, no, he got his lap back during this caution. I'm trying to get it all together. And that he got his lap back, but after that, he just kept progressing forward and wasn't able to come away with the win. But
he was progressing forward, and that's the thing, is he was charging hard.
Yeah.
And he naturally, now cautions worked in his favor, pit stops worked in his favor. And speaking of pit stops working in favors, then you have Mark Martin. Now, I am so reminded of this week's race at Martinsville with Alan Gustafson and Chase Elliott, and Alan making that call for Chase Elliott to pit early. And that won that race.
Which is really cool.
Them running in this race, Mark Martin pitted early. Him, and I forget who else, but there was a couple others that pitted with him. I think Jeff Burton was one of them. But they pit early. Everybody else stays out. Michael Waltrip stayed out with them too. He was running a black 7 car. But they stay out, or everybody else stays out. They pit early. Several laps later, they get another caution, and everybody else pits. Mark Martin stays out.
That's what got it.
And at that point, he is going to start his charge up front, but still quiet. You still didn't see him doing a whole lot. No big moves or nothing. Slow and steady wins the race. And in that case, this is what it's going to do.
And I feel like that's Mark Martin's philosophy throughout his entire career.
Oh, no doubt.
Was slow and steady wins the race. And that's what...
Calm. Like I said last week. Smart.
Yeah, smart raceman.
The man was an extremely smart race car driver. And if you go back and watch some of these races that we're talking about, you're going to see how he was just smart, slick, almost. You just driving along, and
there he is.
Oh, it's Mark. Oh, he's passing me. Okay. Mark Martin's going to take the lead on lap 147, and he's not going to look back. And even Rusty Wallace, who got his lap back, and not only did Rusty Wallace get both laps back, he led another 200 plus laps after being 2 laps down.
Yeah, that was definitely the car to win the race, but
Mark Martin was not the fastest car that day.
No.
But strategy played in his part. With 7 to go, John Andretti's going to spin, but you're not going to see a caution come out. And Mark Martin's going to keep holding on. I think he was ready for this race to be over, because he knew a lot of these guys were coming. If Rusty could have gotten through traffic, I think Rusty was running 10th, and if he could have got through traffic, I think everybody knew who was going to take it. But Mark Martin, just in true Mark Martin fashion, is just going to keep his pace. He's not going to, he's just going to keep going. Ultimately, he's going to win the race. He's going to go to victory lane. He's going to get out. And his first words was, Jimmy Finning won this race. That was his crew chief.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Finning won this race. And he talked about how he made the right pit call, setting up the pit strategy. He said, the car setup that he gave him. And Mark Martin himself, he said, we didn't have the fastest car today. But, he said, we got what we needed to do. And this was a 7-month, the first time he went to victory lane in 7 months. Now, not 7 races or, 7 months, you can include the off season there, but it had been 7 months since he had been to victory lane. And so this was kind of a little bit of a weight off his shoulders. And after this race was over, Labonte still had the points lead. And, can you go ahead and run down the top 5 for us and
top 5 finishers?
No, your top 5 in points after this. Go with the top 5 finishers real quick. Actually.
Yeah. So Mark Martin wins the race. Jeff Burton gets second. Michael Waltrip third. Jeff Gordon fourth, and Dale Jarrett rounds out the top 5.
What was your favorite Robert Presley moment during this race?
He was able to start the race.
He did finish.
Yeah, and he finished the race. There were some guys that didn't.
Have you figured out your favorite Robert Presley paint scheme yet?
Is primary.
Okay, that's great. So what about points? What points look like?
Okay, so Bobby Labonte first, like you said. Mark Martin was second. Jeff Burton third. Ward Burton third. Jeff Burton fourth, and Dale Earnhardt fifth points.
So, fun fact for you on Mark Martin. From 1989 to the year 2000, he would finish in the top 10 in points every single year. From 1989 to 2000. And then, in 2001, he would finish 12th in points. Was the first time that he finished outside the top 10. So even outside the top 10, he was still pretty significantly close. Then I think I want to say in 2003, I know he was in the top 10. I don't remember the position, but in 2004, he finished 17th in points. And then 2005, he was, that's when he was going to go on to announce his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was going to come out of retirement and still dominate. There was a couple years, I don't remember the exact years. He finished 4th in points. I want to say 2 years in a row. This is after he's, washed up and retired and come out of retirement, and he's still taking over the school.
Yeah, Mark Martin, I didn't realize he's actually really consistent. Just a really good driver. Like, obviously, I keep up with all this, all these old NASCAR races, but I mean, guys like Mark Martin were really consistent.
I've said on Instagram a few times, Mark Martin is on my Mount Rushmore of drivers.
Yeah,
but I think the argument would stand pretty strong, and I want to know what you all think. Mark Martin on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR Cup Series drivers. I have to be specific because right now there's the debate on Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame debate is, do Truck Series drivers and O'Reilly Series drivers belong in the Hall of Fame? And that is the big thing. I personally think, yes, they do.
Well, I mean, would you put Matt Crafton in?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he's known for, and
Truck Series better.
I would even say Jeff Green. Jeff Green was, and now Greg Biffle did go on to have good success in the Cup Series, but Greg Biffle had his best success in the Truck Series.
Yeah.
So you have these guys who are, I mean, look at Dale Jr. and I would argue that I would fit in the top 5 of biggest Dale Jr. fans ever. I mean, I knew everything about the dude growing up. I was a huge Dale Jr. fan. To this day, I enjoy watching the O'Reilly Auto Parts series simply because it's a primary junior motorsports. Yeah. And then, of course, you have the one a year, the one off in the 40 car, which is really cool, junior motorsports at Daytona. But I would say Junior was a lot more successful in the Busch series than he was in Cup. But he's my favorite driver.
Yeah.
And guess what? Junior's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Now,
plus, I mean, having the name too.
Absolutely. But I'm not even engaging that. I'm talking about, I mean, he 2 years in a row champion in the Busch series or O'Reilly series. So the reason why I say my Now, I will say this too, though. If you want to go across the board, Mark Martin was very successful in the Truck Series. In fact, I forget what year at Talladega. I want to say it was 05. No, it might have been 06. It was 06 or 07, but he was driving the Scott's truck at Talladega. I mean, Mark Martin saw good success in the Truck Series. Mark Martin saw great success in the O'Reilly Series. But right now, just for the sake of getting beat up online, I'm going to say my NASCAR Cup Series Mount Rushmore. I believe Mark Martin would belong on that.
I mean, yeah,
Go back and look at his stats.
Yeah, Martin was very consistent and good at what he did.
So, what about you? What do you think? Do you think Mark Martin deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR Cup Series drivers? I do. That's my argument. Is I think he should, and I'm kind of curious what your thought is. Would you put him on there, or would you not?
I mean, I would have to. If I'm being serious, I probably have to do a little more study on Martin.
That's fair.
But
at least you ain't making it up.
No,
that's good.
But still, Martin was a great driver.
Mm-hmm.
Very consistent with.
So let's say you leave it. Let me know in the comments. Would Mark Martin deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR Cup Series drivers? I think he does. I think he deserves it. I think he earned it. Just go back and look at the stats, though. I mean, again, from 1989 to 2000, top 10 in points, and then the first time he fell out of the top 10, it was in 12th, and then he came back and was in the top 10 in 2002. 100%, I think he does. Now, 2002, he had an embarrassing moment. It wasn't his fault. It was the steering wheel locked up at Talladega before the race even started. That put a damper on his season. But again, my Mount Rushmore, 100%. And nobody can argue with my Mount Rushmore. I can't argue with your Mount Rushmore. I can't argue with your Mount Rushmore. But I believe Mark Martin would be on the Mount Rushmore of NASCAR drivers. 100%. If you go back and look at his statistics and look at how he drove, look at his reputation, just the amount of respect, I don't believe you'll find anybody that would. Now, at Mount Rushmore respect, he'd be in the George Washington position.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But let's say you, this race, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
I'll get the thumbs in the middle.
I'm going to go, I'm going to be more like I'm like, it's in the middle, but the only reason why is because one, ESPN, I don't think did a great job on the coverage.
No, I mean, you didn't see any after interviews or anything.
They interviewed Mark Martin in Victory Lane, which is where the first interview should always be, by the way. So.
Me personally, I want to hear from Rusty Wallace because, I mean, he was the guy to win the race. And some of your other guys like Jeff Burton throughout the race was kind of a factor.
The race was definitely a roller coaster ride. I think it made it exciting when Rusty Wallace cut the tire and seeing Rusty come back from 2 laps down.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that added some of the excitement. So I guess I could raise it up a little bit more, put the thumbs in the middle. But the coverage, I don't think was the best. They got in, they got out. I mean, pre-race wasn't much, and post-race wasn't nothing. The year be Mark Martin, that was it. They were done, and they went off the gear. And it wasn't just because whoever, we watched it on the YouTube machine cut it off. I mean, they actually rolled credits and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was over. And I get you have time constraints and things like that, but the coverage wasn't the best. The race was kind of a sleeper. Not a whole lot going on. You had the Rusty Wallace thing. You had 17 cautions, but the cautions were just kind of minor.
Well, it was a spin 1 lap, and then people would get into each other on a few laps later. It just wasn't like you
didn't turn the back stretch into a parking lot.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's, that needs to, but I mean, that makes a race way more exciting. I don't know.
What do you think of my hat this week? What do you think of my Chevy hat?
It's good. I like it.
I think I had this one. Well, I got this. I was just a couple years older than you when I got this. I got a whole box of hats. I can't wait to wear my 2001 Dale Jr. Pit hat. Oh, 100%. Pepsi 400.
Wow. There you go. Me in the car.
I had a Mark Martin hat for years, and I don't know where it went. So it was very frustrating because I wanted to wear it for this episode.
I think I know what hat you're talking about, but yeah, I don't know where it is.
But now I wish I had this style hat. I loved the 6 on this car.
Mm-hmm. The scheme was really cool.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Like I said, we hope you enjoyed it. And also let us know in the comments, what race do you think we should start covering? I want y'all's suggestions. I want y'all's feedback to let us know what y'all would like to say. And this is video 4, okay? So video 4, I'm kind of looking forward to some feedback from you guys on how are we doing. We try to get 1% better each week. You know, we're changing it up every week. There's a different background. Why the bookshelf? Well, to be quite frank, this is just the room that we were able to find for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll be back at the Nostalgiaverse Studios next week. We ain't much of a setup, but at least there's more NASCAR involved.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Which I mean, in here, I mean, we do got, we got the Dale Jr. boats here. So I mean, we got a little NASCAR in the background.
I'm sure you can see that.
I should put these links in the description to get some Amazon affiliate if I ain't even got that set up. But anyway, until next week, you be good,
You be better.
and you be best, and we'll catch you next week on Speedway Nostalgia right here on YouTube. Take care.